Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. John demands Jason tell him what went wrong and Trina tries to let Spencer go. Today on General Hospital, Liz talks to Aiden and Jake about Jason, Willow, Joss and Michael discuss Jason, and Brooklyn tries to keep Chase calm. Please note that if you purchase something by clicking on a link within this story, we may receive a small commission of the sale. Jason is in prison blues in the interrogation room at the PCPD. In the squad room, Chase calls Anna and says she needs to get down to the station. Suddenly, Kate's arrives. Chase and Kate's go in to see Jason, who says he's waiving his right to counsel. Chase thinks it's a stunt to get off as his lawyer isn't present. Kate's tells Chase he'll take it from here, and sees Chase out. Alone, he asks Jason, "What the hell are you doing here?" In the squad room, Chase is upset and worried that Kate's will offer Jason a deal. Brooklyn asks what he needs. Chase wants to see Dante, so they leave for the hospital. Back in the interrogation room, Kate's asks why Jason turned himself in. Jason explains to prove he didn't shoot Dante. Kate lashes out, the evidence suggests otherwise. Kate asks what happened, and Jason tells him he did everything as instructed with the other gunmen on the roof, including sabotaging the shot, convincing him they didn't have time to take a second shot, and leaving the rifle behind. He says they ran, but Dante followed, and Hamish shot Dante. Kate tells Jason that his cover was blown even before that as Sonny had video surveillance at the warehouse and he was photographed. Kate asks about Hamish, and Jason says he's dead. Kate demands he tell him everything that happened before Anna gets here. Jason explains after Hamish shot Dante, he shot Hamish. He left his body where it was, and assumes the extraction team took him away when they came looking for them. Kate knows he called 911 to help Dante, and he had to have known his voice would be identified. Kate asks why didn't he call him, and why did he run? Jason says Dante already saw him and could ID him, so he called 911. And he couldn't go back to the extraction team as they'd know he shot Hamish. Kate again says he should have called him. He wonders where Jason went after the pier, and Jason claims the footbridge. Kate calls him out and knows he first went to Carly. Jason says he went straight to the bridge, but Kate says he was bleeding, so there will be traces of his DNA at Carly's if he wants to search her place again. Kate reminds Jason he agreed to cooperate, and this isn't cooperating. Jason again says he went from the pier to the bridge. Kate asks why he jumped from the bridge then. Jason didn't think Kate would want Anna and the local PD involved. Kate wonders where he went after jumping, who took care of him. He knows his bullet wound was sutured, and asks who helped him. Was it Diane who arranged something for him? He knows she has a reputation for getting criminals off the hook, but she'll need to be a magician to save him this time. Kate explains with no sniper to blame, he's on the hook, and if Dante dies, then he's looking at a charge of capital murder and life in prison. Jason says Dante is still alive and can recover. Kate warns him that he better hope Dante does. He fumes they invested 2.5 years in this operation. They placed him on the inside of this organization, and now his cover is blown. He warns Jason if they don't get the answers they are after, the FBI will move forward with the leverage they have, and they both know he doesn't want that. Trina shows up and Joss is glad to see her. Trina explains she's here to meet someone else. Joss hasn't seen her since she broke up with Dex, and since Trina doesn't live at the dorms anymore, it's as if they are estranged. She asks Trina where she's been. Trina says she just thought Joss needed space as she was going through a lot with Dex. Joss misses her friend, but Trina says she's no fun to be around right now. Joss thinks they can commiserate together. Trina gets frank and says she was also staying away because of Jason, as she knows he's important to her and her mom. Joss is confused, this is about Jason. Trina asks if it ever occurred to her that Jason could have shot her father. Joss says Jason couldn't have, as the shooter was aiming for Sonny, and he'd never shoot Sonny. Trina suggests maybe she doesn't know Jason as well as she does. Michael appears to see Joss, and Trina leaves to meet her Aunt Stella. Joss asks Michael what is going on. He says he has news about Jason. He gives her a heads up that Jason turned himself in and it will be all over the media soon. Joss says it's a relief to know where he is and that he's alive, but if Dante dies, Jason could be set up for murder. They go into the kitchen and talk about Jason some more. Joss spoke to their mom who saw him, but she said she didn't get much time with Jason before Anna and Kate showed up. Joss asks if Jason told Diane anything, but he says Diane only informed him that they only talked about the charges he's facing. However, Diane told him not to get his hopes up that Jason would get bail, and it's looking really bad. Michael needs to go talk to Willow and heads out. Outside, Stella meets with Trina. Trina thinks they should cancel, as she's not feeling up to being anywhere with anyone. Stella knows she's dealing with loss and grief, but the pain she's feeling will be different in the weeks to come. Trina explains she barely knows how she feels from one moment to the next, and she mostly feels numb. She also feels pain and anger, but for the most part, it's like walking through a fog. She can't taste what she's eating, she doesn't care about lunch, and she's just going through the motions. Stella feels she's still in shock, and she wanted to meet her as she's been worried. Stella tells Trina she doesn't have to suffer in silence, and she shouldn't. Trina thinks they should reschedule, as she is not up for talking about this. Stella says her friends and family don't want her walking around in pain. Trina cries maybe she doesn't want to get over this, that she doesn't want to get over Spencer as she loved him so much. Stella embraces her and understands, she thinks holding on to the pain will keep him alive. She says Spencer loved her too, and he wouldn't want his memory shrouded in pain and wouldn't want her to suffer. Trina asks what if he was the one great love of her life. Stella tells Trina that she has her whole life ahead of her, and to focus on the here and now and keep herself open to healing. Trina doesn't know if she can as she has so much anger that it scares her. Stella says with Esme dead, she doesn't have anyone to direct her anger at. Stella promises her the anger will pass, and it's hard without closure as they couldn't give Spencer a proper funeral. She says a funeral helps the loved ones to come together and support one another. Trina knows they gave Spencer a memorial, but it wasn't enough. Stella suggests she find her own way to remember and say goodbye. Stella goes into Bobby's, orders pie, and invites Joss to sit with her. Joss admits she's worried about Trina, and she doesn't know how to be her friend right now. Stella says she's an excellent friend, but she'll have to give Trina time to process this and not rush her. Joss knows and thinks about when Oscar died, how everyone tried to say things to make her feel better, but it wasn't helpful. Stella says Trina is strong and will find her way home. Trina goes to the cemetery and says, "Hi Spencer's grave." She can't even call him Spencer as he's not here, and the grave is just a stand-in. She admits she keeps wishing she'd get a call that he made it ashore, and this was a nightmare and he's fine. She knows that's not good for her, to fantasize about something that won't happen. However, she does like being near the water, because it's calm and it feels like he's near her. Even when it rains it's as if he's in the atmosphere, that he's everywhere, but she feels like she's disappeared. She paints a dream scenario about being in Paris with him, and how they spend their free time going to museums, and galleries, and dining at bistros. She says they walk around Paris hand in hand, at least that's her fantasy, but her reality is she's in Port Charles. She's not at school, she lives at home and works at the gallery. Even art hurts, but it helps her not miss him. She doesn't want to say goodbye to him, but she has to try. She knows if she doesn't, she'll drown too. At the hospital, Liz can't find her tablet, and Willow hands it over having found it earlier. Willow tells Liz it must be hard on her family knowing Jason's back. Liz admits her whole family is on edge, and Jake is very moody. Willow tells Liz she's a good mom and is handling things as best as possible. Liz admits she's as anxious as Jake and desperate to know what's going on, but she has to hold her breath and wait for news like everyone else. Brooklyn and Chase arrive, and Chase is still on edge about Jason showing up at the station. Willow and Liz are in the background and hear him, and Brooklyn tells Chase he doesn't have all the facts yet and there may be more to Jason's story. Chase asks what she makes of all of it. Brooklyn says if Jason did shoot Dante, then he at least had the decency to turn himself in. Liz rushes off, and Willow chases her as she forgets her tablet again. Willow doesn't want to pry, but they both heard the same thing Chase said. Liz is freaked as she keeps telling Jake to keep an open mind, but she doesn't know what to believe. Willow doesn't know Jason as well as she does, but Dante is Michael's brother, and Sonny's son, so she can't believe Jason would shoot Dante. That's her 2 cents, and tells Liz not to give up hope. Liz thanks her and says she should get home as her boys will be home from school soon. Willow wishes her luck. Elsewhere, Brooklyn continues to try and keep Chase calm. Chase knows he can't go off half-cocked, but he has to find out what happened for Dante and his family's sake. Brooklyn says he's a good man, and she's lucky to have him. He feels he's lucky to have her. They decide to go see Dante to see Willow, and updates her on what happened with Jason turning himself in, saying he had to or there would be consequences. Willow is just glad by turning himself in, that Danny won't be further involved. Michael feels it's over now, but Willow wonders if it is. Michael says Jason would never give them up, and he likely turned himself in to save them from being implicated. Willow is worried about Jason, his kids, and Liz. She says Liz is worried about how all this is affecting Jake, and she wishes she could tell them what they know. Michael says they can't, and have to let this play out. Jake and Aiden arrive home from school, and Aiden is going on and on about bread starters. Liz soon arrives. She hears Jake lash out at Aiden saying he knows he's trying to distract him to make him feel better about his psycho dad. Liz sits the boys down and says she'll answer all their questions as best as she can. Aiden asks if Jason will go to jail. Liz doesn't know, but Jake fumes. Of course he'll go to jail, he shot Dante. Jake yells he turned himself in, which means he did it. He wishes he'd go to prison forever, and it was easier thinking he was dead. Liz tells Jake that she's sorry all this is happening. Aiden says there could be all kinds of reasons why Jason was away and why he came back, and tells his mom it will be okay. Jake apologized and didn't mean what he said. She tells her son he gets to be angry and this is hard, but they'll help each other through this. On the next General Hospital, Anna begs Jason to tell her the truth if there is any chance she can help him. Chase asks BLQ if she wants to call off the wedding. Gregory slurs heavily and tells someone, back off. Curtis suggests Laura has a hard time believing it as that's not what really happened. Kate tells Carly, you can't do that. Sonny tells Michael that anything is possible. Michael asks, even forgiveness?